I trust you celebrated most heartily. Curious. I wonder if the tadpole shares in your suffering the morning after. I'm glad to hear it. You'll need fortitude for what's to come. I promised to help you with your infection. There's cause for hope, but it's complicated. Some form of magic is arresting the ceremorphosis process, while still granting you certain benefits. Your ability to read each other's thoughts, for instance. Magic such as this doesn't arise naturally. Someone is pulling the strings, someone of great power. If you wish to cure your infection, you must find them. These absolute wretches are rallied at Moonrise Towers, farther along the Chionthar. Whoever is behind this magic must be there. You must go there. The journey will be perilous, but it seems you're well accustomed to navigating danger. To get to the towers, you'll need to pass through a terrible place. A cursed place. This curse shrouds everything in shadow. You will not find life, light, or anything natural there. Any who linger are twisted by the curse. They become shadow beings, tormented, dangerous souls. You could also go under. There is a tunnel leading from the Temple of Selûne right down into the Underdark and beyond. The entrance is hidden somewhere in the temple ruins. Aradin and his lot thought they'd find fortune down there. They were promised riches if they retrieved a relic called the Night Song, but I think there's more. Long ago, a man called Ketheric Thorm managed to rally a whole army of dark justices in a secret stronghold deep in the Underdark. From there, his forces could access both the Temple of Selûne and Moonrise Towers in secret. But Ketheric was defeated before he could launch an attack from the Underdark. Ketheric took his secrets with him to the grave. You'd need a veritable underground city to conceal the force he mustered. Yet none has ever been found. If you find it, I'll wager it'll reveal a route all the way to Moonrise Towers, bypassing the worst of the Shadow Curse. You'll need to pick it up where Aradin left off. Find the hidden entrance. It's somewhere in the Temple of Selûne. The decision is yours, but I'd favor the Underdark. Even a place like that is the lesser evil compared to the shadow-cursed lands. Anything is preferable to risking the Shadow Curse. I would like to join your camp, if you'll allow me. I can offer my skills, my counsel. I've long sought to return to Moonrise Towers. Unfinished business. It seems our fates have aligned. The Shadow Curse. It's an affront to nature and must be cleansed. I helped overthrow Ketheric Thorm and his dark justiciars years ago, but I failed to prevent him from unleashing darkness across the region before he was defeated. I spent years researching the curse, trying to put an end to it. Nothing has worked. Yet, if I can join you and get close to Moonrise, perhaps I can lift this curse. Same as you may find a cure for your infection. Precisely. Then perhaps I could have done something about both the Shadow Curse and Ceremorphosis aberrations. But in my eagerness, I put far too much faith in the abilities of Aradin and his band. We didn't even get close. I've chosen a successor as first druid, Francesca of the High Forest. A bird's already been dispatched to summon her. Wrath has promise, but he has a ways to go yet. He wasn't able to stop Korga by himself. The Grove needs experience and a strong hand. The Grove needs to move beyond the mistakes of the past. What it needs is an unknown quantity. An outsider who can enforce the Oakfather's teachings without bias. This is why I chose Francesca. She will restore simplicity and purity to the Grove in my absence. Resentment will spring up like mushrooms no matter what I do. You cannot please everyone, and you'd be a fool to try. Now, we've quite the journey ahead. Best get started.
I suppose you want to hear about Cazador. My old master. Before the Mind Flayers took me from him. Before this strange, twisted freedom. Cazador Zar is a vampire lord in Baldur's Gate. The patriarch of his coven, and a monster obsessed with power. Not political power or military power, I mean power over people. The power to control them completely. He turned me nearly 200 years ago. I became his spawn, and he became my tormentor. Not him, no. A gang of thugs attacked me, angry about a ruling that I'd handed down as magistrate. They beat me to death's door when Cazador appeared. He chased them off and offered to save me, to give me eternal life. Given that my choices were eternal life or bleed to death on the street, I took him up on the offer. It was only afterwards I realized just how long eternity could be. He had me go out into Baldur's Gate to fetch him the most beautiful souls I could find. It was a fun little ritual of his. I'd bring them back, and he'd ask if I wanted to dine with him. And if I said yes, he'd serve me a dead, putrid rat. Of course, if I said no, he'd have me flayed. Hard to say which was worse. Thank you, but this isn't about sympathy. It's about knowing what we might be up against. The Mind Flayers aren't the only monsters out there. They're not even the only ones hunting us. All I'm asking is that you keep your eyes open and watch out for anything lurking in the shadows. What more could I ask? Now, is that all? I won't lie. It's tempting. If I keep the tadpole, I risk transforming into a grotesque monster. If I lose the tadpole, Cazador has control of me, body and soul, and I return to the shadows. It's grim either way. So why not sell what's left of my soul to a devil? Better he has it than Cazador. Figuring out what's happening to us, confronting a god called the Absolute, and then finding time to kill my old master before he can control me once more? Yes, that's an option, but I wouldn't bet eternity on it. Why do you insist on exhuming the past? I was a slave. A vampire spawn. Kept by the Tsar family. Perhaps I still am. I was never able to resist their commands. But now, I've been conveniently lost. They won't ever control me again.
Chatter already, Tusky? So I did. The blade proved a distracted study. I dismissed him once my pleasures were taken. Should my pleasures need further serving, I know to look elsewhere. We need speak no more of it. Chook, you believe you can survive without me? As you say, do not keep me waiting.
A fine evening. A peaceful sky above, and nature's nighttime music all around. I studied one up close. Closer than most would care to be to those things. A drow attacked me and I defended myself. Afterwards, I was able to examine the tadpole that emerged. Hideous, but fascinating. Like nothing else in nature, I'm glad to say. It's had the whole region around Moonrise Towers in a chokehold of darkness and despair for years now. Those who remained are shadow-cursed. If you don't die at their hands, then you become one of them. We have to get to Moonrise, but the less time we spend in its blighted surrounds, the better. Precisely. Then perhaps I could have done something about both the Shadow Curse and Ceremorphosis aberrations. But in my eagerness, I put far too much faith in the abilities of Aradin and his band. We didn't even get close. Wonderfully. If I'm honest, the grove was too comfortable for my tastes. I felt removed from nature. I'll miss my books, that I can find all the wisdom they contain out here, firsthand. Well, there's hardly anyone left to share the responsibility with. Few who witnessed the fall of Moonrise still draw breath. What Ketheric Thorm unleashed is not something that nature can undo by itself. I must do what I can. I studied the Shadow Curse for years, but to truly understand it and stop it, I must reach its source.
Ah, good evening to you. I take it you're here to pick me up on that bedtime story you were promised. Marvelous. It's a story full of answers long overdue. It is the story of a man who fell in love with a goddess. Thank you. Once upon a time, not quite that long ago, there lived a wizard in a tower. The wizard was what one might call a prodigy, who from an early age could not only control the weave, but compose it, like a musician or a poet. Such was his skill that it earned him the attention of the mother of magic herself, the Lady of Mysteries, Mystra. Love. Perhaps it was not quite love, but you see, the wizard was but a very young man. It was most certainly love to him. Mystra showed him the secrets beneath the veils. The gossamer veils first, draped across the weave. The delicate veils next, draped across her body. Chosen one, she whispered, and she slipped them off completely. Yes, until one day, all too soon, the whispers stopped. The goddess spurned the mortal. The veils were drawn once more, and the wizard was left behind, heartbroken. Like so many of the heartbroken, he did something infinitely foolish. One has to think big if one seeks to win back a goddess. So the wizard thought big. Here goes. Once upon a time, very long ago, a mighty lord lived in a tower. A flying tower, to be precise. I'll save his story for another time, but the gist of it is that he sought to usurp the goddess of magic so that he could become a god himself. He almost managed, but not quite. And his entire empire, Netheril, came crashing down around him as he turned to stone. The magic unleashed that day was phenomenal. Rolling like the prime chaos that outdates creation. A fragment of it was caught and sealed away in a book. No ordinary book, mind you. A tome of gateways that contained within it a bubble of astral plane. It was a fragment of primal weave locked out of time. Locked away from Mystra herself. What if, the silly wizard thought, what if after all this time, I could return this lost part of herself to the goddess? The answer was to try, and the outcome was to fail. Here. Place your hand over my heart. Let me show you.
You feel the tadpole quiver as you realize Gale is letting you in. Into the dark. You see through Gale's eyes, staring down the corridors of a dread memory. A book, bound, then suddenly opened. Inside there are no pages, only a swirling mass of blackest weave that pounces. Its teeth, its claws. It's unstoppable as it digs through you and becomes part of you. And gods, is it ever hungry.
of all things, magic. This Netherese taint, this orb, for lack of a better word, is balled up inside my chest. And it needs to be fed. As long as it absorbs weave, it remains stable, to an extent. The moment it becomes unstable, however, it will erupt. I don't know the exact magnitude of the eruption, but given my studies of Netherese magic, I'd say even a fragment as small as the one I carry, it'd level a city the size of Waterdeep. It is my truth, finally revealed. It is this folly that led Mistra to abandon me completely. I can only hope that you won't abandon me as well. After all we've been through, surely we can brave even this side by side. That is a great relief. Oh, a great relief indeed. It is an honor to call you a friend. Many challenges lie ahead, but in this moment I believe nothing to be insurmountable. What do you say? Should we call it a night, or do you have questions for me? I'll be honest with you. I don't know. She's my muse still, the embodiment of magic. But the embodiment of love? Only if we ever meet again will I know. The orb was kept safe and inert in a pocket of astral plane, suspended in time. If I can somehow manage to expel it from my body while in the astral plane, it will be rendered inert again. Alternatively, I could learn to control its chaotic magic. That is, to succeed where I failed before. Without Mistra's favor, I don't see how that may come to pass. Of course, there could be different answers as well. Faerun brims with more magic than any one wizard could fathom, let alone comprehend. Who knows what outlandish solutions may yet present themselves. Good night, then. And thank you.
Take one. Dragon's breath brandy. Puts hair on your bones. Sorry about all that. Back at the windmill, I mean. I lost my head. You ever felt so much hate it poisoned your blood? Then you don't know the sickness that spreads through me. I crossed paths with Spike a few years back. He had torched the whole village, left it to burn. I wasn't a blade then, just a kid, really. Should have known better than to run hollering after a goblin bruiser on a rage high. You better take another sip of that brandy. Down the hatch. Spike went right for the eye. Last thing I saw was the dagger coming at me, woke in a puddle of piss and blood. I reckon he thought I was dead. I wasn't dead. From anger and sorrow, I was reborn. I was the blade of frontiers. I will see Spike dead. I will see the land cleansed, and I will keep its people safe. You hear that, Spike? The blade's coming for you. And he won't be alone.
Something's wrong. I feel... What the... Darkness, protect me. I don't know. I'm fine. It's past whatever it was. And stop looking at me like that. I'm not sprouting tentacles just yet. No, I'm fine. Forget it. Never you mind. You're not going to let this go, are you? I worship Shah, the Mistress of the Night. Now that you have the truth, please don't make a big fuss about it.
The Goddess of Secrets. How telling.
Forever, ideally. And you assume too much about what I can and cannot tell. Secrecy is everything for Shah's children. It's our code, our creed, our shield. I'm not sorry I kept this from you. Not one bit. Though perhaps that might change, if you can show an open mind. Talk to me later. This day's been long enough already.
How can I help? Ah, yes. Karsus. Karsus was perhaps the most powerful wizard that ever lived. The child who would be a god, the elves called him. And he tried. With a spell of his own devising, he endeavored to usurp in one fell swoop the power of the goddess of magic. Mistral, she was called then. Imagine what it must have felt like. To be a god. To know yourself, to be untouchable. To be mistaken. As Karsus aimed his spell at her, she began to unravel, and with her, the entire weave. Too late did he realize what he had unleashed. It would have been the end of everything had not Mistral sacrificed herself. The goddess of magic is all magic. By dying, the entire weave was lost, and the spell that challenged a god failed. It was the end of Mistral. The end of Karsus and the end of an entire civilization. As the child who would be a god was turned to stone, his empire came crashing down around him. The floating cities of Netheril were no more, an event that came to be known as Karsus's folly. For a spell, Mistral was reborn as Mistra. Upon her return, the weave returned with her. Now, so many centuries later, I try to follow in the footsteps of Karsus. Not to destroy Mistra, but to prove my love for her. I tried to control only a fraction of the magic that was unleashed that fateful day. I merely sought to return one tiny diamond to an imperfect crown. Gale's folly, one might call it. History, repetition. It's the way things go. If it should ever come to that, if I ever know I am no longer able to stop it, I will do anything I can to ensure no one but me pays for my mistakes. I will find the remotest place on the surface of Faerun, or perhaps far below in the depths of the Underdark. I will await that death, alone. I promise I will not betray your trust. You kept me by your side despite the menace that I am. If worst comes to worst, I will be long gone before the curtain falls.
Lady of Sorrows, guide us. Did you want something? I don't have to explain myself to you. Very well. Perhaps there's potential in you. Let's see how you handle this. I am indeed a disciple of Shah, Mistress of the Night and Lady of Loss. I assume you've heard of her? My Lady Shah is the Night Singer, the patron of darkness and loss. Most fear the dark, like children, because in darkness they see their fears reflected. But Shah teaches us to step beyond fear, beyond loss. In darkness, we do not hide. We act. Pain, hope, the promise of better days. All of these are heavy cloaks that bend our backs and burden our hearts. We shed those cloaks. Before Shah, we stand gloriously naked, beyond the vanities of mortals. We tear down the lies the world is drunk on, the institutions they trust, the so-called gods they worship, the lives they cling to. We destroy false idols, topple corrupt organizations, fight heretics wherever they're found. There's often suffering, death even. Many people break before they embrace Shah's truths. Curious. Most are afraid of my lady. Perhaps you'll turn out to be a worthy companion after all. I don't know. Something to do with the tadpole, who's to say? Another mystery to add to the pile. No. Whatever it is certainly not that. Very. It wanted to lash out at you. Luckily, I was there to stop it and save your life. Anything else? We don't know how this works, not really. Maybe it varies a little, person to person. Don't worry. It won't matter once we find a cure. And if we don't find one, well, we'll be past our worries then. You already know my biggest secrets. What more can you ask? She took me in when no one else would. Without her, I wouldn't be alive. She's my mother. She nurtures me, cares for me, loves me. Don't believe the lies the Selûnites tell. What? Besides my life's calling and the greatest problem I've ever faced? Well, I like night orchids and can't swim. Is that the sort of thing you meant? It's a deal. Fine. What's on your mind? If we hadn't killed the goblins' leaders, they'd have turned that grove to ashes. We're owed quite a debt, I believe. No excuse to rest on our laurels, though. We've still got our own problems to contend with. Must I? Thinking about it won't help. We know what to do, so let's do it. Find a way to rid ourselves of these things. Personally, I think Halsin's advice about getting to Moonrise sounds like the most promising option. As for what he said about a dark Justiciar stronghold in the Underdark, I'll need to see that for myself. If true, and Shah willing it is, it could be invaluable to us. I'm not too hopeful that a Gith Kresh will actually prove our salvation, but worth keeping in mind. You're not the kind of company I'd keep willingly, but all things considered, you'll do.
A fine day for it, yes? What? Oh, goodness, no one really. Just a bit of poetry to clear the head. Perhaps it's working. I haven't sprouted a single tentacle that I can see anyway. I call that a good sign. Optimism. I like it. But do let me know if you start growing a second tongue or something.
Ah, there you are. How did you enjoy my dear stew this evening? It's an old family recipe. Good. I tend to season it with spices from Karatur, but given what's available to us, good old Rosemary had to see us through. Not that I mean to regale you with my culinary exploits. There's actually something quite different I'd like to discuss. Some things are easier to explain than others. But first, let me say this. We've been traveling together for a while now. And during those travels, I've been observing you. I want you to know that I like what I see. The way you stood in front of a crossbow to prevent a murder. The way you got Korga to release the girl. The way you handled Nettie when she poisoned you. In short, I've grown to trust you. Now I need you to place your trust in me. Our journey together is bound to last a while still. As such, I feel compelled to speak. I say this because there's something I desperately need. But while I'll tell you what that something is, I won't tell you why. I have to ask you to agree to this before carrying on this conversation. Thank you. I see I did well to trust you. Now, to the matter at hand. You see, I have a condition. A condition different from the tadpole, but just as deadly. The only way to appease said condition is for me to take powerful magical artifacts and absorb the weave inside. It's been days since I last consumed an artifact before we were abducted. It is time. And by that, I mean it's imperative that I find and consume powerful strands of weave at the earliest possible juncture. That's part of the why you agreed not to discuss. Wouldn't want to make an oathbreaker out of you. We've already done the finding. In fact, you have one in your possession. That one right there. Thank you. I can feel the storm abating. Yes, this will keep my condition in check. For a precious while. It's hard to predict the effect any given artifact has. But my condition is hardly a patient one. Rather soon I will feel it stir again. Like a distant thunder sending tremors through the soul. I will need to consume another artifact before the lightning strikes. There's no choice but to find more. As luck would have it, Faerun is full of them, though I do feel obliged to point out that items of power tend to be in the hands of the powerful. There'll be danger involved. All great cost. Good. A bit of boldness will serve us well. I know the allure these artifacts hold. I understand their value and their power. All this to say, I understand the sacrifice I ask of you. I hope I can count on you.
Damn thing. It has to open, surely. It has to do something.
Shadowheart's attention is consumed by a strange box that she turns over in her hands. The box is inscribed with glyphs, similar to those used by the Githyanki. In an instant, Shadowheart hides the box from view.
Keep out of it. A bold statement, if not an accurate one. Leave me be. Shah's blessings upon you. Wouldn't you be in my place? If there's even the slightest chance that Shah worshippers remain within our reach, we should try and find them. Even if they're all long gone, and that seems quite likely from what we know, who knows what they may have left behind for us to use? My people are nothing if not resourceful. There's no story. None that you're entitled to hear, anyway. Just forget you ever saw it.
What's on your mind? Think of it as tribute. The kind a king might pay to a more powerful neighbor to avoid invasion. As long as I pay, there will be peace. But should I ever stop, along comes a war. I can assure you, the battlefield would extend well beyond the borders of my body alone. An eruption the size of Waterdeep, I think my exact words were. That is most gratifying to hear. May I? Thank you. Gods. It's like a draught of cool water soothing a parched throat. Welcome and wonderful. There was a lot of magic in this artifact. I can't quite remember a time I felt so peaceful inside. It's good to perceive this constant fear repressed into a quiet scare. Let's hope it'll last a good long while. And I'm impressed once more by your benevolence. I say that with great sincerity. Mere days have passed since our first acquaintance, but you've gained the respect of years. As such, I do not wish to give you false hope. We're only treating the symptoms. not the cause. That said, this newfound calm I'm experiencing gives me reason to accept without prejudice a certain degree of optimism. Time is a precious gift. With time, we may even reach Baldur's Gate, a city rife with magic, wizards, scholars, and perhaps solutions. And here's to your company. Oh, I can picture it now. Academies, libraries, laboratories, the assembled knowledge of centuries that may just set us free. Better yet, soft beds, home-cooked meals, and all the other little luxuries this wilderness so brashly denies us. Gods, I'd pay a king's ransom for a hot, lavender-scented bath. Minstrels serenading as I close my eyes and let the water's warmth dissolve all woes. Plenty to look forward to.
You are swallowed by a chorus of turbulent music. Through one creature sings many voices, the harmony of an entire collective.
Sovereign, he has come. He is here.
The choir fades. A single melody rises above the others, brassy and commanding.
I am sovereign.
You see a vision. Your lifeless body wrapped in fungal tendrils. The sovereign is threatening you.
State your purpose.
Fungal roots weave through your mind, seeking your true intent. Then the sovereign drones a new melody, cautious but welcoming.
I can neither mend skin nor spirit, but we still might commune. Descend to me. Let us speak in flesh.
The persistent music coaxes you forward. The sovereign expects you.
Ah, a visitor. You're a welcome sight. But let us observe the customs of the locals.
The scholar's brow tenses. His voice spills into your skull, the spores connecting mind to mind.
Blurg, proud member of the Society of Brilliance, at your service. Or perhaps not. Your mind is far more complex than the fungi. Understandable. We are small in number and rarely stay in one place for long. My colleagues and I are working to improve conditions in the Underdark. This need not be such a dire, hostile place. It's curious to find a surface dweller here. What has brought you down so deep? Truly remarkable. But why come to the Underdark, where they hold so much power? You were infected by an illithid tadpole? It's a miracle you're still intact. You must be worried sick, but have no fear. I have a friend who may be able to assist. Omelium!
I hope this is important, Blur. My Zerkwood samples need constant attention.
It is. This adventurer has an illithid tadpole inside his head, but he hasn't turned.
No ceramorphosis. That's impossible. But intriguing. Are you looking to have it extracted? Open your mind to me. Let us see what lurks within.
As Omelum's mind pierces yours, the tadpole pulses with power. It feels 10 times its size. Alive, awake, almost smug.
This is most unusual. The incubation period should be complete. As should your transformation. But the lava is infused with strange magic. It appears to be in some form of stasis. No, it appears to be shielded from physical and magical influence. And even without the shield, the extraction would involve severe cranial trauma. It is not ideal. The process would surely kill you. A nautiloid. Fascinating. I have never set foot on one myself. They were our warships during the greatest eras of the Illithid Empire. We ruled the entire astral plane from their decks. The design was lost when the Gith rebelled and ended our dominion. Of course, I am sorry I cannot assist you in its removal. But I have an idea.
Oh, perhaps I should start taking notes.
There may be a way to bypass that stasis. There are many alchemical substances that can influence the mind. A tincture distilled from a collection of rare mushrooms. They have subtle psionic influence. I would require a fresh tongue of madness and Timask spores. But be warned, in their natural state, both of these mushrooms can be quite dangerous. Timasks cause confusion in those that approach them. The tongue is self-explanatory.
The Underdark, of course, although they are quite rare, and their discovery perilous. I imagine Lenore would have them in her possession. She served Mistra as a cleric. She is quite fond of her garden. Lenore has always been a lonely sort. Nature was her only companion. I offered her the chance to join the society, but she refused. Her experiments on Susa bark took priority.
May your travels be safe and swift.
Welcome back. Have you made any new discoveries? The feeling is mutual, friend. I have only passing familiarity with the surface races. But I found that there is as much to learn from an individual as there is from a community. So it is with the Myconids. They live in harmonious unity, but each has a unique personality. Yes, but it has abundant natural resources. Spores, water orbs, Trillimac. I've studied them for years.
There is rare magic in the Underdark, too. Fezres. It radiates from the earth, warping teleportation and divination magic.
This is not a wasteland. It is a glorious ecosystem. Every civilization here could thrive without conflict. I do enjoy a good bargain, if anything in my private collection is to your liking.
I greet you, child of the sun. How has your search for the mushrooms fared? I was born with a propensity for arcane magic my people despise. It gave me the strength to resist the Elder Brain. Every waking hour, I pushed back against against its dire hold. My wizardry empowered me. The moment its control shattered, I fled before the colony discovered I had defected. In the beginning, I had an arrangement with a lich. Excellent company, despite what one would expect. I required brains. He required souls. A perfect symbiosis. But our ambitions eventually splittered. I wished to better the world, and he preferred its rod. So I left his company, and thus I now feed from those who act against the Society's goals. Perhaps the peoples of the Underdark will be less inclined to violence if they comprehend the cost. Yes.
The Sovereign's thick fingers stroke the corpse at its feet. A droning melody greets you as the creature turns its gaze to you.
Flesh Talker, I show you a memory. Watch and listen.
A violent vision grips you. Dwegar, dark dwarves, chopping myconid remains.
They broke our peace. They killed our young.
The Sovereign's song slows to the pace of a dirge. It is still in mourning.
We laid waste to many, but intruders remain. Lakewood.
The Sovereign's song halts as it measures your worth.
I sense your resolve. You will find Dwegar invaders near Lake's Edge. Cleanse the rot. Destroy them.
I suppose such wicked killers deserve wicked ends.
Deep purples swirl into familiar shapes. Gnomes in mining gear, chased by Dwegar.
The Dwegar seek a gnome. It is a guest.
An illusion comes over you. A Dwegar choking on a cloud of gleaming dust.
I can spare you no warrior. Too many were lost. But accept this gift. It will help you exterminate.
The Sovereign gifts you one more vision. A wall of vines parting to reveal glow.
Riches of magic and mind. Cleanse the rot, and they are yours. You do the circle a service. We will await word.
It replies with an echoing screech and returns its gaze to the corpse. Unusual spores waft from the decaying flesh.
Don't.
Her condition looks familiar. Poison derived from a wild weed common to the Underdark. Some local remedies could cure it, or an antidote likely held by the poisoner.
Aye. Poison off a Dwegar's blade. Bad place to be stuck needing help. Just leave me, please.
Flesh walker, tongue talker. Far you've come. Reach into memory. Tell me of home.
It cringes in response to your sunny vision and reveals its own home. a humid cove filled with decaying myconid corpses.
Dwegar destroyed my people. I am a sovereign with no circle. This circle does not welcome me. But I have heard the song. You mean to cleanse the Dwegar rot. I mean to join you. I am the danger, and I am the cure. They erased my people. I will erase theirs. In death, your foe becomes your ally. I will raise it. You may command it. Remain in the Underdark, and I will follow. We cleanse the rot together.
Seems the shrooms are letting in more people every day. You see a fella on his own on your way in. Dwarf. Balin's his name. Right now. Waiting for that idiot Balin's return. Unless you've seen him, we don't have much to discuss. Bald, blue tunic, dumb as a stick. Right. Never mind. My useless husband. Sent him for an errand. It's no surprise he's made a mess of it. Knock yourself out. But don't come begging for coin if you find him. You try to ransom him to me, you'll find yourself skint and stuck with a fat old lout.
Stop! Stop! Bibberbang!
You recognize the name. Bibberbang, a mushroom that releases dangerous spores. Highly flammable.
I know that! Scroll! Escape! My bag, please! I've dropped it somewhere! Thank you. Ah, right, what were you saying? I was looking for Dereth. She'll be worried sick. I must need to go. For you. Your trouble. Ta.
Look at that. Got my useless old man back. I suppose that's your doing. His hands are empty as a hole. We'll have to send him back out soon enough. Please, Balin's got a job to do. We can leave when he's done it. Love? Never heard of it. Balin's meek now, but he used to be a rotten old bastard. Treated me like an old shoe for 70 years. Losing his mind was the only good he ever did by me. Collecting noble stock. Valuable mushroom. We've a shop in Baldur's Gate. The locals go mad for it. Nearly nothing it can't cure. Blindness, poison, hair loss. Probably. But Balin in his right mind wasn't worth half a half of noble stock. I know him better than anyone. Got the scars to prove it. Might do. But why bother? Thing sells in town for enough to make your eyes bulge.
My friend, Bibberbang. Curious. Beautiful. But dangerous. Next time,
More careful next time, for certain. Thank you for your help. I think anyway, what were you saying? Mushroom. Powerful. Dirith wants it for a brew. She's very good, my Dirith. Very good at a brew. Noble stock. Yes, Dirith needs noble stock. Mushroom. Good stuff. And the ledge. Yes, I was on a ledge. Crumbled to bits. And I tumbled down. The shop. The shop needs all we find. Bone cloaks. Baldur's Gate. Anything sourced here. Very high rate of profit.
The tumor is excised. The Dwega are dead. Here I break ground. From the dark, the mighty circle rise. My song will fill the grotto. Death doer. The grotto may sustain but one sovereign. In the age of Glut, there may be no spore. Eliminates the other sovereign. A fate it has earned. My circle long suffered while the Dwega flourished. I thanked Spore for help. Yet it cowered in the grotto and let my people be slaughtered. Choose, soul mind. Help me grow a mighty circle and reap the reward, or protect the precious poltroon as it waits for the circle of Glut to devour it whole. It is my right. It is my right.
Its delicate harmonies turn to scrapes and scratches.
Your corpse will birth my circle.
It greets you with a harrowing elegy, cheerless as the new moon. The music shifts, still melancholic, but now streaked with hope.
Do you hear? A new harmony. Serenity. I name you Peace Bringer.
Fragrant spores waft through the air. Your heart swells with bliss with your every breath.
Freely you have given to us. Freely you may take. Follow the one we call Brew. Promised treasure awaits you.
I greet you, child of the sun. How has your search for the mushrooms fared? These are fine specimens. It will only take me a moment to brew them to proper potency.
Ormelom turns away to prepare the potion, lost in its own musings.
You must drink the entire draught. I can make no promises as to its taste. It will lower the psionic defenses around the lava. If I cannot remove it, I may still be able to tell you more about its origin.
Ormelum watches you with cautious intensity. It expects doubt. It expects fear.
Only in that you may be a danger to yourself. What the potion may make you see or feel, I cannot determine. But unless you are already a step from death, it will not kill you.
The acidic liquid tightens your throat, burning on the way down. It's a bolt of agony straight to your stomach.
Not a drop left. Very good. As the potion influences your mind, you may find yourself acting irrationally. Try and stay focused.
The world loses its edges, its finer boundaries. You are fluid, but trapped, like a creature suspended in amber. A few sparks and colors dance around Ormelum, but you stay steady and staring ahead. The tadpole spasms, seizes. It's fighting the potion even harder than you are. Fear pierces your mind like knives of ice. The parasite digs deeper, as if it means to hollow out your skull. The cold blades lose their edge. You are stalwart, turning that tide of fear against itself. The parasite swells with power, more power than you have ever felt before. It surges and twists, lashing out against that which would dare to intrude. The parasite in your mind quiets, pleased with itself.
Ormelum, are you well?
That lava is like nothing I have ever observed before. Its power is unsettling. Such an outcome was not in my calculations. There is more to this being than mere stasis. Such crude destruction may not waylay a lava like this, but there is another possibility. I possess a ring of mind shielding. It prevents elder brains from noticing my presence. It will not remove the lava, but it will limit its influence, both positive and negative. I would offer it as a gift, but in truth, the ring is priceless. Is there anything you could offer me in turn? Because removal seemed preferable to negation. And I must admit, I was curious to study the tadpole myself. A fascinating topic indeed. What can you tell me? What a brilliant experience. To feel one step closer to my ancestors is a fine gift indeed. Here, it is yours. May it serve you as well as it has served me.
The squiddy gives me jitters, but that ring's worth every last one.
Of course, the lava remains. Be ever vigilant of its growth.
A vessel wobbles on the lake's murky waters.
Human! What are you doing on Gek's raft? Where's Gek? Who are you?
As the symbol glows, power courses through you. Authority.
Damn. The sergeant will be pissed about our boots. Come on. Let's get you to shore. You're the one telling the sergeant what happened. The rest of you keep patrolling. I'll be heading back with this one.
You continue forward in silence until the lights of a camp twinkle through the murk. As you cross the dark water, you remember your capture and infection, your harrowing escape from hell, and the constant threat of becoming a mind flayer yourself. Your search for a healer brought you to a druid's grove and the refugees sheltering there. You remember their gratitude when you stood by them. One evening, a devil came courting, insisting that a cure was impossible. He said he'd come again, soon enough. It hasn't been all bad, though. You fondly remember your night with Astarion. Your reverie is interrupted by an underground fortress appearing in front of you. The symbol of the Absolute is clear, even in the dark. You need answers. What game are the Mind Flayers playing? Is there even a cure? What are they doing at Moonrise Towers? And why are they looking for you? Amid this flurry of questions, you feel something else deep inside you. A hunger, a lust for blood. Soon.
Alright, so, I want you to clean up all of this, okay? Gargoyle with a good curse over there. Explosive, explosive, and then over the... Oh, I'm sorry. This is the end of the early access content. We are still under development behind me here, so you can't go through. But congratulations, very well done on getting here. And in the name of everybody at Larian Studios, I would like to thank you for supporting us in early access. Now, we take community feedback very seriously, so I would like to invite you to go to our community forums or go to the review pages on the store where you bought the game and let us know what you thought of your experience so that we can learn from it and use it to improve the game.
Quit your yapping. Let's get going.
All right, so I gotta go back together with this man here, continue to develop the game, but see you soon, because we'll have much more content for you as we continue to integrate feedback and so forth. Yeah. You want to sing the song, right? All right, let's do it. Row, row, row your boat gently down the lane.